Hi, Eden here with your weekly self-care reminder. And today I wanted to talk about Mother's Day. It's coming right up on Sunday, and so it's been on my mind. And I've been thinking about all of the women out there and in here who might have mixed feelings about Mother's Day. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I want to actually talk today about and just send some love to the women who have had miscarriages recently or have lost pregnancies, who are trying to become mothers. And Mother's Day can bring up a lot, and just the experience itself can bring up a lot. And I've experienced an ectopic and a miscarriage, years ago, and have it's a lot of empathy. And I also, there are other reasons why Mother's Day can be a little mixed bag for some of us. I think it's this one day out of the year where hopefully we get a little extra TLC or at least a little extra acknowledgement. But in the context of our, overall kind of general culture, and there's not a lot of community or societal support for mothers, and not a lot of acknowledgement, and it's a big job, and it's done in a lot of times in isolation. And so we have this one day where it's like we get, maybe some, who knows whatever we get offered or whatever we're offering out to our mothers. And so it can be, a little tricky. Also, a lot of us have mixed, complicated relationships with our moms, or we have lost our moms, So I'm just bringing this all up. I'm just naming it as a time that can bring up mixed feelings for us moms and us women out there. And just speaking to the women who have had miscarriages or lost pregnancies, it's been in my field lately because I've known a couple of women who've experienced that recently. And I know just from experience how hard that can be. And it's just different for each one of us and unique, but it is something that's more common, I think, than we realize, and that we just don't, have the space or the ability or language or maybe even community to talk about it. And so I wanted to just bring that to the forefront, and mention, just kind of hold space for that, to say that allow yourself, if you've gone through this, to have the space and time to heal, to feel, to ask for support, or to just be with yourself in whatever way is most true and authentic to you. And I know for each one of us it's going to be different. In depending on what stage of life and what how things are, and the circumstances of our life, it's going to be different. The first time I had an ectopic pregnancy was like 9 years ago, and it was a life-threatening situation. And so, and I wasn't planning on getting pregnant, but I did, and then it led to this life-threatening situation, and I ended up, having to get surgery. So I was healing from the surgery, the trauma, the hormone fluctuations, the loss, and so many big emotions came from it. So many questions about, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Is my body okay? Am I ever going to have kids? I only had one fallopian tube and ovary left. Does it even work? And what lessons am I going to learn from this? And I had a ceremony which I felt was helpful for me, to just say goodbye and thank you to this being that had passed through me, to honor it, to say, to give gratitude and thanks for whatever lessons that I might learn from this. And I did actually ultimately learn a lot, and that might not be the case for all of us. It might be an experience that we hold and we process and we let go. For me, it really brought me home closer to my body, and taught me that reminded me that I had been living in a really disembodied way, and as a way of coping with a lot of things. And so I learned to be more compassionate and tender with myself, and to give myself more space, to just be and connect. And that is not to say that anybody out there needs to do that, or that that's where you're at, or you're not doing that. It's just that was my experience with the first time. And the second time was very different, because I had a son. My son was about 1 or 1.5 at the time. My partner he sleeps at work, and so I was alone. It was the middle of the night. It was super painful, and I was having to kind of move this through me, with all the pain that I was experiencing physically. and manage my son's feelings around it because he was very confused and concerned, um, and so it was a very lonely experience, really. And then kind of had to jump back and be into the busy life of motherhood, and not really gave myself the time to process, to feel, to heal. Um, in the way that maybe I did the first time around, because motherhood is such a big job, and so I'm sure maybe some of you can relate to one or both of those experiences. They're all so unique and different, and ultimately, what did help me was on a physical level, which is of course connected to our emotions and our mind. But what helped me was to take some shatavari, which is an Ayurvedic herb, which is a reproductive tonic, and it helped to kind of regulate and balance out the hormones. And then I also took ashwagandha, another Ayurvedic herb, which helped with, it's an adaptogen, so it helps with stress. And I actually still do take that. The ashwagandha. I also started taking aloe vera at that time, which is also really wonderful for the reproductive system. Drinking at that time raspberry leaf and nettle tea and yarrow and things that were blood building and that were also really good for the uterus and reproductive system. And so, those were things that were, and actually are still, most of those things that still, especially aloe vera and ashwagandha, still do take for my reproductive system. But at that time, they were really helpful and nourishing for me. And so they may be for you as well if you're going through this. But the bigger picture is, I just wanted to acknowledge that these experiences can feel really lonely. They can be really painful. They can bring up a lot. And just to, give yourself permission to take the time, the space that you need to heal, to trust your body. It will heal. And all of the amazing things that it has created, it has that same capacity as it does to create, as it does to heal. And just to receive, and go and process things in the way that are most true and authentic for you, and just feeling and seeing you, and sending love and empathy during this time. All right, well, thanks for listening.